Well, I want to show you a very advanced technique in bicycle restoration that very few people know how to do, but it can be extremely useful to you. It's called lapping. If you have a situation where you have bearings, like this is a Campagnolo pedal with bearings that don't really turn perfectly smooth anymore. This is rare for Campagnolo. I've been doing this since I was 13 years old, many years, and it's the first Campagnolo pedal that I've come across that's not right. It could be a headset on your bike. It could be a bottom bracket. More often than not, wheels. And you'll turn the, I've got a wheel here. You know, you'll take the wheel and you'll turn this axle and you say, I don't know, it's got a little bit of grab in it. It's got a little bit of sandy feel. It's not sand, but it's just not totally smooth. You can resurface the race surfaces and make it very, very smooth. You can take a Schwinn from 1987 and make it feel like a Dior, a Shimano Dior. You can get stuff to run really, really smoothly. And that's the technique we're talking about. So let's get started. In this case, it's this Campy pedal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these bearings out, wipe them off, put them back in with Colgate regular toothpaste, which has calcium diphosphate in it. And I'm going to actually resurface those races with the lapping compound. Clean out the toothpaste. I may show that, I may not, you know. Then you just save the bearings as shot bearings, clean it out, repack it with new bearings, you know, which of course I have in a packet called new, all ready to go. You cannot lap and then go back in and use those bearings again. No, you'd have to have new bearings. They won't be round, perfectly round. We're using them basically to grind the surfaces. So let's go ahead and kind of get started with this. And let's see, I'm going to be working in this sector here. So my first job is to stabilize the bottom of this pedal. And I want to come here and open this pedal up. I'm going to have to do this in my lap. I would probably do this in my vise in the basement. I wouldn't try to do it with tools held in my lap, but I can do it this way. I think. Ah! Oh, shit. Oh. These are so hard to break open. God. I don't know how this is possible that it's this locked up. I've never, ever seen any Campagnolo part this locked, ever. I'm sorry I don't have a better angle for you. I'm not a videographer. Don't pretend to be. I'll tell you what might be my best bet would be to come around and try and work these two in the same plane. Like this, and apply tremendous pressure like that. I got it. Oh boy, oh boy. this is something I've never seen before. Okay. This just means these were never taken apart and re-greased. I think that's, I can tell the bearings are dry. So, I mean, my guess is that what happened was they never lubed this stuff. And this is what you get. You run bearings dry on a pedal and you're going to end up with nothing. And race is damaged and bearings out of round 2. Okay, well, that part's done. What a pain in the ass. By the way, what am I doing? I'm doing a restoration of a Garicati race bike that's basically going to be mint when I'm done. I can show you a couple of the parts. These are my Campy parts: derailleurs, brakes, crank. I got those. This frame over there looks brand new. Handlebars look great. That's a very high grade restoration. A bike was to me, by a buddy, and he said, "Do you want to redo this?" Okay, so our goal right now is to get this thing apart and not have the bearings go too far away. So we'll lay down some just paper like this so that I can catch these bearings as I bring them out. And I want to keep these because these are what I'm going to use for lapping. Actually, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to come out. I'm going to just, see, they pour out because they're so dry. You won't see that real commonly. Now what this means is I can probably, now they're wet on the other side. So they were wet on this end, but not wet on the far end. So I'm just coming here, and you don't want any grease in the system at all when you're lapping. And let's see how lucky I can get using a magnet to pull the bearings. A lot of times you can get them. You can see these actually have grease on them. I try to use magnets whenever I can when I'm working with bearings because they are kind of hard to get out if you don't. So I'm just coming in here. Got one in there that doesn't want to come out. And just come over and try and get it to... I think we got it there. No, it's still in. There we go. So I want to remove, you can see this one still was wet. So I'm just using a Q-tip right now to clean out this race area. Again, when you're doing the lapping, you don't want any grease in there at all because you want that compound to act like a grinding compound. It's a lapping compound at that point, and you don't want any grease at all. There was some grease here on the far end, but it wasn't where the bearings were. It was kind of somewhere else. So right now I'm just cleaning, and I'll go ahead with these Q-tips and continue to clean until I can get this thing devoid of grease. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I'm going to come in and get the grease out of here too. So it's just, you want to get as much grease removal as you can. Out of it, come down, wipe it one more time. I don't want any cotton in there either, by the way. I don't want really anything in here. Clean, devoid of grease. You can pull these cups, but I wouldn't do that because sometimes they'll bend up and then they won't go in right, and then you're screwed because you're going to have a hard time. This 1983 bike, very difficult to get parts now, cheap for these. And so we've got here and this. Okay, so this unit is basically clean. This is clean. This is pretty clean here. I'm going to remove all of the grease from this as well. The little nuts. You don't want any part really to have any grease left at all. You can stop it. And so just kind of take this out here. I can feel this has a little grease on it. Wipe it down. Okay. Here. And get this cleaned off. So I go through a lot of paper towels on a restoration. I go through a lot of Q-tips. I don't make any effort to salvage them or use them too much. I get them, use them until they're dirty. That's it. Thrown away, junk. And just keep cleaning until they come up clean. Okay, that's looking nice. Again, this is very rare. I would see this problem on a Campy part. Normally these bearings will be perfect condition. And normally they don't have to be replaced either. Okay, so these parts are all ready for the rebuild now. The next thing I need to do is to take these bearings and clean all the grease off of them. I just make a little pocket here. And I'm going to pick them all up with the magnet like that. Okay. And then I'm going to take this rag like this, put the bearings in the rag, wipe them off from the magnet into the rag, all of them, like that. Now I've got my bearings in the rag, and I can just back and forth a few times here to wipe them pretty clean. And they're going to go into the top of this container so that they can't escape. I'm going to bring them here and drop them down like that. Okay, so what have we got now? We got bearings that are clean up here. We have our parts ready to go, and we're ready to begin our application of toothpaste. You must use this toothpaste. It's Colgate regular. You can't do it with other types of toothpaste. It has to be this compound, because it's actually a pumice, a very fine pumice, and a lot of other toothpastes today, they don't have pumice. So I'm taking my finger and I'm putting a nice layer in there where I know those bearings will ride. Same thing now on the other end. I just come here and put a nice coating. Now you better make sure you put enough in there to really nicely hold the bearings, because this is the only thing that's going to hold those bearings in place. You're going to have a lot of trouble keeping these bearings where you want them. So where the bearings actually run, which is kind of towards the outside of that chamber, that has to be pretty carefully done. Now at this point, it really doesn't matter if you put toothpaste on this. I'm going to put a little bit on it, but not very much. Just a very thin glaze coating on this, because it'll pick it up off the goop from there. And now what we want to do is we want to put it together pretending it's grease, but it's actually toothpaste. And so we're going to want to grab these. And so I'm going to do this end first. It's less critical and less likely to have the bearings move out of position. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just placing them down now into into the race, like I would do if I were working on this with grease. And I want to put them in the exact position they would be rolling. And then you can see the bearings are held in place by the toothpaste. And it's kind of nice because I can push them into place because it has that nice rim here. The kind of cover, dust cover, helps me to keep these guys where they belong. You kind of do need to know where the bearings run. If you're not sure, you want to look and see the wear marks on the race to understand where do the bearings run, because you will need to put them in the right place. And there's 1, 2. 2 more. Let's see what we got here. Now I got to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And here's 15 and 16 rounds out this group. Okay. Now this looks easy when I'm doing it, but it's not. And a lot of times those bearings can kind of pop out and they'll run. If you lose one on the floor, take a new bearing, put that in the used bearings place. That'll work just fine for you, but I wouldn't lap without a full set. Correct placement of bearings for lapping. Now we come up here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like I'm down one bearing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. I am down one bearing. And so I'll come over here and I'll grab one of those. Where'd the bearing go? Who knows? I might have lost it, or the person may have lost it who did the work on the bike in the years past. I don't really know. I don't really care, by the way. I just want to make sure I've got 16 in here. So I'm not going to sit and get all jacked out of shape just because I don't know where a bearing is. And you do want to have extra bearings. You want to buy your bearings. And this is a very important race. It's much harder to get these guys in and to have them sit properly. It's much harder to do this than it is to do it on the other side. So you definitely want to take your time and make sure that you're putting these run actually on very much at the outside of the race. And so I have to be very cautious when I'm putting them in that I'm dropping them into the spot where they're supposed to be. Okay. Looking good. Okay, that one almost got away from me. It's stuck to the glove, but I can just shove it back over here and get it back into place. So you may have a problem where 1 or 2 of them try to get out of there. That's not enough toothpaste to hold bearings anymore, so I have to come in now and reload this a little bit with more goop. I've learned from experience, how much it takes to hold it. It takes I'd say a 0.5 millimeter thick worth. And I'm just coming in one at a time. I hope you can see this pretty well. 2 more, and there we go. Okay, now I have to align everybody because they are not aligned properly right now. I want to come over here, push this guy in. I'm going to do a count. I may be high in my number of bearings here. I believe I am. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 is correct. It looks awful full to me, but that is the correct count for this piece. And again, those bearings are going to ride pretty high up there, going into the upper part. And now we're ready to reconstruct this component. So I would just simply take this and slide it over and see my bearings are correct there. Now I'm coming in with the upper race. I keep it dry. I don't want to put any goop on it. If you do put goop on it, what's going to happen is that it will pull those bearings out. So I bring it down a little bit and then I drop it into position that way and bring up the bottom like this. And that is the proper way to do it. And you can see that the bearings are in there and they are turning properly. Now I'll put the set washer in, and I'm going to put this lock on here, and I'm going to set the bearings kind of a little on the tight side, not too tight, but where I can feel a little bit of resistance, not too much. I'm going to come here with my 2 wrenches, and that's a little bit tight, but I should be able to come across here just a little bit of loosening, coming here like that, a little bit tight still. I'm going to come here, loosen it up just a hair. Still a little bit too tight. I'm going to have to use my lapp again to hold the bottom of the piece here. So this holds that. And then this goes here. I'm going to loosen it just a hair to here. And I can come in now and tighten it up, and that's good enough. And let's see what my fit is of the bearings. Oh, they're pretty snug in there. It'll turn, but it's kind of snuggish. You can hear it. Okay, now what we need to do now is that we need to get this thing into okay, now let's see here how I'm going to do this. I've got this is going to have to go into this part here, this one, so you can see what I'm doing. I'm threading this doggone thing in here. Let's see. The only way that you can apply torque to this if the bike's not together, and this bike is not together, is to come down here and tighten the pedal up on the crank a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down just a hair because I'm going to have to reset these bearings several times during this process. Okay, now you can see, okay, now you got to spin the bearings. And here we go. And I can feel this is pretty tight. Do them sideways like this if you want. I'm just a little bit tight right now for what I'm trying to do. It's got a little bit more stiction than I want. Not much, but This is better. Well, it's binding a little. It's not really binding. It's just, it doesn't really have super free action because the bearing races are not really in great shape. I'm going to open it up just a hair more to try and loosen it up. Bearings are in bad shape. I mean, the bearing races, I can tell. That's kind of a peculiar thing to be doing. You can hear the sound is changing. This is actually pretty dangerous because it's spinning and it's pretty heavy and it's pretty big and it's got teeth on it. So you got to keep it away from your leg. You can hear the sound is becoming a little smoother. Yeah, it's better than it was. So you can see it's kind of got a little bit of binding going. So what we're doing is we're grinding away on that metal, on those races in there, is what we're doing. We're grinding it smooth. I'm going to put a little bit more lapping compound into these races here, just because I can get in there easily and put a little bit more lapping compound into that. If I had the bike fully constructed, I would probably go out and do this on, with the pedals on the bike and just do it by hand like this. But I can do it like this in here too. You can hear the sound is changing again. The smoother it gets, the smoother the sound. So you can see they're starting to spin, see? It's starting to spin free. It's not spinning free, but it's starting to. Good sign that the toothpaste is coming out on the back side here. That means there's plenty of it and it's getting displaced. Okay, you can see, so it's starting to spin free now a little bit. It's not spinning free, but see what's happening is sometimes the bearings are in a position where they're kind of running pretty smoothly, and sometimes they're running in a position where they're not. That means they're not round anymore. Those bearings were, in my opinion, this happened because whoever owned it did not service. So you can see it's starting to spin. By not servicing the bearings, they had the bearings running on metal dry, and that's what screwed up the bearings in the races. And all they had to do actually was take some Fillwood tenacious oil, shoot it in the back and the front of the pedal. It would have been enough lubrication, but they didn't know that. See, that's the beginning of spinning free. Okay, see it? I never thought I would have to do this to a Campagnolo part, and it's just pathetic. These things are known for being bulletproof, for not needing any kind of work like this, for never having problems with their bearings. Even if they're 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, they'll still come out great, but if you don't lubricate them, see, that's spinning. I'm going to come in now. I'm going to give this just the slightest additional torque in. Tighten them up again. Take off more metal. So as the bearing races lap in, they get smoother and then it spins freer. Take off more metal. I tighten it up and continue to spin. And this should be my last round of spinning to get this stupid thing. It's an insult to Campy that somebody did this. It really is, in my eyes, just so silly and so unnecessary that someone did this to a Campy part. I can tell those bearings are definitely not around anymore. But they'll do a fine job of lapping. So those bearings got thrown out around, not by the lapping. They got thrown out around by not being not being lubricated. And you're probably going, you gotta be kidding me. This is ridiculous that he's doing this. Well, if you want your bike, you know, a bike restoration is only as good as each part of the restoration, each part that you work on and how you work on it and what you do to prepare it. And the more you do that's right, that, so you can see it does spin now. And that's actually, that's good enough. Okay, so our next game now is to come in here, loosen that nut up, and get this pedal off of here. Because we have completed this procedure. Okay, now just to be courteous, this thing had been totally polished out and I'm not really tickled that it got touched by something that wasn't right. Kind of picky about this work. And I do have, of course, some caps for the ends, so I'm in good shape on that. That can go up back here as a bonus, so I'll give you a tour of the frame just for fun. I know you'll enjoy it. Oh. Pretty much new condition. Very close. Very close. Still have to redo the wheels. Those are my bearings on the headset, and I got my shift levers. Those are my caps, brakes, derailleur. Beautiful. I mean, you can see the bike will look basically brand new. We're back to this job now. The only thing we have to do at this point is to take this apart, get those bearings into a bag of shot bearings here, And that does this job. So we're just gonna take it out here. Of course, I'll have to clean these parts to get them away from the toothpaste. I have to clean all this stuff to make sure that it's absolutely perfect. And I can come out here and here and here, and I'm pretty well ready to just pick them all up with this super magnet here. You can get in and hopefully pick these up, and these guys here and these guys here. This will be much easier on that side. Got them all with one grab. Can come here and take these used bearings. These are basically worthless, with the exception that they might have application for another treatment of lapping, but really I wouldn't really do that myself. I would probably, I'm going to throw them away. Okay, I come over here and let's just try and start getting these guys out of here. Okay. Now we just come in and just kind of clean these suckers out. And I'll get that toothpaste out. I'll go in and actually wash this with soap and water. And seeing as how I'm not going to save the bearings in any way, shape, or form, I think I'll just do like this. Put it in there. Throw them away. Those are going in the trash. Now I got to clean these parts off, and at that point in time, I'll then inspect that all the toothpaste's off. It's absolutely clean, dry. Then I'll come in and I'll put this together again with new bearings and fresh grease. But it'll turn a lot better. Whether it will be perfect, I don't know. I'm not sure that the races will go back to perfect, but they'll be good enough with new bearings. And if it were a wheel, I think I could have gotten it perfect, you know. But it depends how much damage is done. You know, that was a race that was pretty not good. But it depends how perfectionist you are. I mean, if you want them absolutely perfect, you'd probably buy new pedals at this point. I could get them 95% back to what they were based on the time I've done this and the number of times. But so that's lapping. You can again apply this technique to bottom brackets, to headsets, to wheels. Any area where bearings are running rough, you do always have to have replacement bearings ready to go to put in, but you can get them at a bike shop. I think I paid $5 for enough bearings to redo both pedals. They're not expensive at all. If you haven't done that, stop reusing your bearings and go buy new ones if you got any problem with them. You know, a bearing that's not round is not going to turn round again, ever. You want to start with a new bearing. So anyway, that's the scoop. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope this technique is of some use to you.